Welcome, everyone, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're taking kind of a unique journey, I think. We're delving into a chilling first-person account of a haunting.
Yeah, these are always fascinating.
Right, and our mission really is to unpack this incredibly compelling personal narrative. We want to extract not just the spine-tingling events themselves.
Which are definitely there.
Oh, yeah, but also explore the profound psychological impact an experience like this can have on someone's entire worldview. It's a truly fascinating story.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Analyzing these raw, sort of unfiltered personal accounts, it offers such a unique window.
Into what, exactly?
Well, into human perception, really. The boundaries of belief, how we grapple with the truly unknown. They can reveal so much about the mind's adaptability or, sometimes its breaking points.
Okay, so let's unpack this particular story then. It centers on a young man named Khun Bank.
Right.
And it takes us back to 2014 in a dorm in Nakhon, Thammarat. Now, here's the critical detail about Khun Bank when this all started. He was, by all accounts, a complete non-believer in ghosts.
Totally skeptical.
Totally, absolutely skeptical. And his reason for choosing this specific dorm, it was unbelievably cheap.
How cheap are we talking?
Just 2,000 baht a month, which, for a student, that's an absolute dream.
Yeah, purely practical.
A practical decision above all else.
And this is where we hit that immediate, glaring red flag, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much the start of his story.
Yeah, what was that?
His senior students, the locals, they didn't waste any time warning him about the dorm's ominous history.
Okay.
They told him quite explicitly that a female student had died by suicide there, tragically hanging herself in room 602.
Oh, wow.
Apparently because of poor academic results. It was like a well-known, grim local legend.
That's a stark warning. So what did the dorm do about that, practically speaking?
Well, they sealed off the entire 6th floor. Just closed it down.
The whole floor.
The whole floor. So the floors 1 through 5 were the only ones available to rent.
Okay, but Khun Bank, where did he end up?
Well, as fate, or maybe something else would have it, his assigned room was 502.
Right underneath room 602?
Directly beneath the infamous room 602.
Yeah.
And what's striking is, even knowing the history...
His skepticism just kicked in.
Completely.
Yeah.
He was totally nonchalant about it. No worries, no second thoughts. It was just a good deal on rent.
Huh. That's quite something.
And this, this unflappable skepticism, which is pretty common, right? That's precisely what makes his later experiences so profoundly compelling.
Because it's a belief system that's about to get seriously tested.
In the most visceral way possible, yeah.
Tested indeed. So Khun Bank settles into room 502, still a complete non-believer, living right under the place where this tragedy happened.
Right.
And his very first night, things started happening.
Immediately.
Pretty much. He started hearing this very distinct, repetitive dragging sound from the floor above. The source described it specifically as cut, like a heavy scraping sound, like dragging a heavy chair across the floor.
Right, that kind of sound.
And then, after the dragging, a sudden, loud crash, like something heavy falling or being overturned, described as whoop.
Drag, then crash.
Exactly. And this sequence, believe it or not, repeated 2 or 3 times on that first night alone.
Wow, that's unsettling for a first night.
You'd think.
But what's truly fascinating here, from a psychological standpoint, is how quickly that initial fear can morph into something else entirely.
Like what?
Well, imagine hearing that on night 1. Terrifying, right? But Khun Bank experienced these exact sounds, this precise sequence, every single night.
Every night. Same thing.
Every single night.
Yeah.
And our brains, they're incredibly adept at finding patterns and, normalizing things, even unsettling things.
Like a coping mechanism. Sort of. It's a cognitive shortcut, a form of habituation. It lets us function without being on constant high alert. So for Khun Bank, his mind started processing it as just a regular, albeit incredibly inconvenient occurrence.
So the horror becomes routine.
A textbook case of the normalization of the abnormal, yeah.
Which is almost crankier in a way. So these nightly sounds became, well, almost part of his routine.
Perversely, yeah.
Which brings us to this pivotal turning point. One day, Khun Bank comes back from university, and he's already in a really foul mood.
Why is that?
His own grades weren't looking great, so he's frustrated, stressed, just wants to sleep.
Okay, already on edge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he hears it again, that familiar, incessant chair dragging noise from upstairs.
Right on cue.
And his frustration, already simmering, just boils over. He completely lashes out, verbally.
And his words were, well, They were incredibly sharp, a direct cutting insult. And he specifically targeted the assumed reason for the ghost's death.
What did he say? He shouted, and this is a rough translation, something like, "Oh, it was with all this noise. I want to sleep. Are you making noise for your father, you failed student?"
Wow, that's harsh.
The sheer audacity, the raw aggression of it,
Yeah.
especially aimed at, well, potentially a ghost. It's just astonishing.
That is quite an aggressive response, especially considering he supposedly didn't even believe. What does that tell us about, his breaking point?
Well, it speaks volumes, I think, about the human need for control, even over things we can't explain.
Right.
When rational explanations fail, or maybe just become too annoying to maintain, pure frustration can trigger that kind of emotional outburst. For Coonbank, it was like a momentary crack in his skeptical armor.
Like an unconscious acknowledgement?
Maybe. An unconscious acknowledgement that something was there even if he couldn't intellectually define it. It's almost like this primal scream of, just leave me alone.
And the response was immediate.
Immediate.
Yeah.
And chilling.
Yeah.
The dragging sound stopped instantly. Complete, profound silence. Then, an incredibly loud crash, much louder than before, described as being like someone angrily overturning a chair.
Angry. Okay.
And then, again, absolute silence. The sounds didn't come back that night. Or the next.
Huh. The calm after the storm? But the creepiest calm ever?
Exactly.
So, the next day after that shocking silence, Coonbank is heading back to his room. It's about 3 p.m. He gets in the elevator.
Okay.
Totally distracted, just scrolling on his phone, not really paying attention. The door is open, and he immediately notices something's off.
Like what?
The floor looks wrong, it's covered in dust, the whole atmosphere feels heavy, strange, and there's this strong, musty, really unpleasant smell.
So this immediately flags up a crucial question, right? Why did the elevator take him to the 6th floor?
Exactly, the floor that was supposed to be sealed off. Totally inaccessible.
He always goes to the 5th.
Yeah.
But suddenly, inexplicably,
He's on the 6th. It's a major unsettling deviation. So naturally, he tries to leave. He presses the button to go down. Nothing. The light doesn't even come on.
elevator's dead.
Seems like it. Then he tries the stairs, but there's a solid steel gate blocking the way. Impassable.
So he's trapped.
He's trapped. Panicked, he calls the dorm Auntie, the caretaker, begging her to come up and let him out.
Right, sensible move.
But while he's waiting, maybe against his better judgment, curiosity gets the better of him.
Oh dear.
He starts walking down the dusty corridor towards room 602. He notices all the other room doors are shut tight, locked, but 602, it's slightly ajar.
And what's particularly compelling here, almost insidious, is that as he gets closer to room 602,
Don't tell me.
the familiar chair dragging sound starts up again from inside or near that room.
No way.
Yeah. And despite everything, his mind, still clinging to that skepticism, tries to rationalize it. Maybe it's dorm staff, cleaning, maintenance.
A desperate attempt to find any logical explanation.
Exactly.
So he steps closer. That mix of fear and morbid curiosity, right. He peeks inside the slightly open door, and
that's when he sees her. A young woman wearing a student uniform, her hair is covering her face,
Okay.
and she's slowly emerging from room 602. And the most terrifying detail, there's a rope hanging around her neck.
oh my God.
He just loses it, bolts, utter panic, runs back to the steel gate, screaming for the auntie at the top of his lungs.
Understandable reaction.
And as he's screaming, running, he feels it, that chilling sensation of being followed, a distinct presence right behind him.
That cold dread. Yeah. So, the immediate aftermath is just scramble for safety, right?
Totally. He calls his mother straight away, tells her he wants to move out now.
Does he tell her why? The real reason?
No. Still trying to, I guess, maintain his image as the non-believer. Or maybe just too embarrassed, too shaken to admit the true, terrifying reason.
That makes sense. The cognitive dissonance must be immense.
So his mother, just being practical, refuses.
Yeah.
Cites the lost deposit on the dorm room.
The practical constraint, forcing him back into this terrifying situation. Yeah. So Coonbank, still deeply shaken, crashes at a friend's dorm for about half a month.
Gets away from it for a bit.
Tries to, and during that time, you know how it is, the initial terror starts to fade a little. The mind tries to process, minimize the trauma.
Rationalize it away.
He starts convincing himself maybe it was just a fluke, his imagination running wild, maybe stress, an isolated incident. He decides to move back into his own dorm.
Back to room 502.
Back to 502. This time, he's cautious, though. Takes the stairs. Every time. Determined to avoid that elevator.
Smart.
And for a few nights, nothing happens. He starts to feel safe again, thinking maybe it's over until his friend's birthday.
There's always an until, isn't there?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
He goes to the celebration, gets properly drunk, like past midnight, maybe 1 a.m.
Okay.
His friend walks him back to the dorm building, sees how wasted Khun Bank is, struggling, and convinces him he's too drunk for the stairs. Just take the elevator, his friend says. And Khun Bank, caution dissolved by alcohol and exhaustion, reluctantly agrees.
And what happens next is, well, it's a classic horrifying sleep paralysis incident, but with a terrifying twist.
Okay, what is sleep paralysis exactly?
It's that state, often when you're falling asleep or waking up, where your mind is conscious, aware, but your body is temporarily paralyzed. You can't move, can't speak.
That sounds terrifying enough on its own.
It is. And the hallucinations, visual or auditory, that can accompany it feel incredibly real because you are awake, in a sense.
Yeah.
It blurs the line between dream and reality.
So Khun Bank wakes up like this, paralyzed.
Exactly. Wakes up completely conscious, but there's this oppressive weight on his chest. Can't move, can't speak, can't scream. Total helplessness.
And then
the horrifying vision unfolds. In his room, he sees the woman.
the same one from the 6th floor.
The very same. Slowly dragging a chair to the center of his room. She's carrying a rope.
Oh, God.
She places the chair down, climbs onto it, ties the rope to the ceiling fan right above her, loops the other end around her neck, and jumps.
And he has to watch.
He's forced to watch, completely helpless. Sees her struggle, writhe, and then go utterly still.
That's horrific.
And this isn't just, a random nightmare or hallucination triggered by the paralysis. If we connect the dots,
It's a reenactment.
a clear, deliberate reenactment. It feels like a direct psychological assault, meticulously designed to inflict maximum terror, to shatter his skepticism completely,
Forcing him to experience her trauma.
making it intensely personal, preying on his vulnerability, his deepest fears. It's moved beyond just sounds now.
What must that do to someone, being forced to witness that, unable to move or scream?
It's overwhelmingly traumatic.
Yeah.
The mind is aware, but utterly powerless. It processes it as an immediate existential threat. It's a fundamental violation of your sense of safety and control.
Far worse than just hearing noises.
Much more impactful. It shifts from auditory fear to this complete, immersive, visual and psychological trauma.
So when he finally breaks free of the paralysis, what does he do?
Immediately grabs his phone, calls his friends screaming for help, desperate for someone, anyone, to come to validate what he just saw.
Right, get someone there.
But while he's waiting for them to arise, just utterly exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained, and still terrified, he falls back asleep.
The sheer toll of it all. But the terror isn't over, is it?
Not quite. While he's asleep, he has another nightmare, arguably even more harrowing.
How could it get worse?
This time, Khun Bank dreams that he is the one who fails his studies. He gets kicked out of university, and he hangs himself in that room,
Oh no, mirroring her experience completely.
perfectly mirroring it. But he feels it, the actual pain, the struggle for air, the agony of suffocation, the physical sensations of dying.
Like a complete sensory immersion.
Incredibly vivid. In her final moments, he wakes up with a jolt when his phone rings again. It's his friends calling him back.
Okay, they're there.
They are. But what's truly chilling, and this is the final reveal, really,
Yeah.
it's Khun Bank's dawning realization as he talks to them.
What do they say?
His friends are confused. They say, "We're here, man. Outside your room, room 502.
502.
Yeah. They've been knocking, couldn't get an answer. They even got the doorman to open the door for them. But he wasn't there. The room was empty.
The room was empty.
He wasn't in room 502.
He immediately hangs up the phone. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't explain. His heart's pounding. He turns on his phone's flashlight and scans the room he's actually in.
Well-
And the shocking truth just hits him like a physical blow. This is not his tidy, familiar room 502.
What does it look like?
The room he's in is dilapidated. Broken, old furniture everywhere, covered in thick cobwebs. And that horrific, pervasive, musty smell is overwhelming. It's completely uninhabitable. A forgotten, derelict space.
No.
And then the final undeniable proof, he shines the light on the door, and the room number clearly displayed is 602.
He was in the haunted room all along.
He was in room 602. He was never in 502 that night, not since he took that elevator.
He slept in that room
Everywhere.
after seeing everything. It seems so. This is just a profound moment of sensory disorientation, a complete breakdown of his perceived reality.
I can't even imagine.
The mind desperately tries to make sense of things, right? Clings to what it knows. But when faced with undeniable physical evidence that contradicts everything, The shift is terrifying. It's not just a haunting anymore, it's the very fabric of his reality unraveling.
So what does he do? He's in 602. His friends are downstairs.
He doesn't waste a second. Pure, unadulterated terror takes over. He flies out of that room, runs desperately down the stairs.
And as he's running...
He hears it, a woman's mocking, chilling laughter echoing down the stairwell behind him.
Oh, that's awful.
He gets to the bottom, to that steel gate on the 6th floor landing. He assumes it's locked solid, but in just sheer desperation, he kicks it hard. Luckily, it was only latched from the inside, not properly locked. It bursts open.
Thank God.
He stumbles out onto the 5th floor landing, and there they are, his friends, waiting. Confused, worried, but there.
The relief must have been just immense, an anchor back to reality.
Absolutely. Grounding him after that complete disorientation.
So this whole experience, how fundamentally does something like that change a person? Especially someone who started out as a complete skeptic.
Khun Bank's carefully constructed non-belief, that foundation of his rational worldview, it was just shattered in the most brutal, undeniable way.
Yeah, I can see that. So what happened next?
That very night, he finally tells his mother everything.
The whole story, the ghost, the room, everything.
Everything. He overcomes the embarrassment, the fear of not being believed, and just confesses his utter terror, the whole ordeal, the complete breakdown of his old beliefs.
And his mother?
To her credit, she was understanding. She allowed him to move out immediately.
Finally.
And she even requested half the deposit back from the dorm owner.
Did they give it back?
Surprisingly, yes. The owner apparently agreed, acknowledging the 6th floor's reputation. Basically admitted there was a known issue.
Wow. So they knew.
It seems likely they were aware of the history, let's say.
So Khun Bank moves out.
He never experienced anything quite like that again, thankfully. But he was forever changed.
How so?
From that staunch non-believer, he now firmly believes in ghosts. And he actively avoids any places with that kind of history. He recognizes the profound impact certain places can have.
It really demonstrates the immense power of personal, undeniable experience in shaping belief, doesn't it?
Absolutely. For Khun Bank, it wasn't just a story or rumor anymore. It was a deeply personal, terrifying confrontation with something he'd previously dismissed entirely.
That kind of trauma can just fundamentally alter your perception of reality.
It forces a complete recalibration of your worldview, a profound psychological shift that makes the inexplicable undeniably real for you.
So Khun Bank's journey, from total skeptic to firm believer, catalyzed by this series of increasingly terrifying, personal, and undeniably immersive events.
It's a powerful reminder, really, how confronting the inexplicable can profoundly shift a person's core beliefs, and how the human mind grapples with experiences that just defy rational explanation.
It really underscores that sometimes the only way to truly understand the boundaries of belief is, well, to have them shattered by a reality you can no longer deny.
Well put.
So for you, the listener, what stands out most from Khun Bank's chilling experience? Does it make you question your own beliefs about the unseen? Or maybe just think about the deep psychological effects of extreme fear and isolation on our perceptions of reality?
Definitely food for thought.
Something to mull over until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.